In my last video about this palette, I mispronounced the brand's name. And someone was so kind to try to write down the phonetics of the palette, and I just opened it again. I think I will mess it up too. But she wrote the brand's name is pronounced in Mandarin as Qian Yen. So like Cheeyen. And then she described later on, rather than the chi as in cheese, the sound is similar to the pressure release valve on a coffee machine, that one that makes a sharp tss. The tip of the tongue is pushed close to the front of the teeth. The mouth is slightly opened, making a high pressure qian yen. I have to apologize if I just fuck up this name. I try my best, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm just not Asian. Like, nothing in me. And thank you for this description. And Qian Yen, is that correct? Let's just call this the dragon palette in this video, because you loved the first video where I shared only one look and kind of a first impression, but all the comments were like, where are the swatches, Ella? Why didn't you swatch the palette? For time reasons and because it's 32 fucking bands. But before we head into the 3 tutorials with this palette, let's talk about the swatches. I have to admit that the swatches that you see here are not my best swatch work, but this is mostly down to the fact that these shades swatch terrible. The texture of most of these, besides one shade that I'm going to talk about in the video further on, it's kind of flaky. Like, I'm talking indie flaky, but even worse, like sometimes even worse than Adept Minka. But, and here is the thing, this does not translate like that when you use a brush and you apply it on the eye. When I swatch shimmer shades, I do use these tiny sponge tip applicators that you can get for literally nothing on Amazon, because there is just so much glitter in here. I don't want to hassle with all the glitter on my fingers all the time. And with regular shimmers and regular metallics, this method is just beautiful, because the sponge tip applicators, as cheap and shitty they are, they kind of are able to mimic the appearance of like a finger application. But with these shades, I had a lot of trouble to do that, because they are so soft that I would even say they are borderline creams. There was also a request in the comments to compare it a bit with the Isamaya Industrial 2.0. And I'm honest with you, maybe this is a little bit of a disappointment to you, but I don't see a lot of similarities. I mean, yes, you have this fiery reddish shade that you basically have in both palettes. Then you have a couple purples, a bit of like pinks. But in general, the major difference between this and this is texture and, I just have to say it, intensity. These are pretty intense, these are beautiful, and you can build them up to create such artistic, beautiful looks. But this is on crack. This is the third look you will see in the video. In total, there are 3 looks. And I'm also, in addition to this video today, planning to do an extra bingo on this palette, which, I'm honest with you, definitely will be challenging because of the lack of mattes in here. So basically what you have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 8 mattes out of 32. Then you have 2 mattes with a lot of glitter pigments to them. They look amazing, but I wouldn't use them as blending shades. Way too glittery for that. Then you have 1, 2, I would say 2 duochromes. which are this and this red, because this red is duochromy in the way of it has a black base with red pigments to it. Then you have this marbled multi-chrome shade that is just a pain in the ass. And the rest, besides the three whites like this, and this, are straight up metallics. They are not chromy, they are just beautiful metallics. Some of them have like holo specks, but the tiniest way. The three whites in here that upon first glance you'd be like, why do I need three white shimmers? This one, translucent wet, this one, translucent blue, and this one, translucent confetti holo. So they all serve a purpose, but now enough of the ramble, let's head into the tutorials. Okay, for the first look with this monstrosity, I'm actually not starting in here because it does not have enough mattes to create more wearable looks, so I'm pulling in some other mattes. And I'm starting, there is a story why I do have this, so I think I already told it, but it's the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes Neutral. And in case you didn't see it, or I actually forgot to tell you this, I did an impulse buy with this. It came, I was underwhelmed. These two pens up here were loose, so they literally fell out. I contacted the customer service and they basically refunded me and told me to not have to send it back. So I'm starting with this shade, which is MN7. To me, this is actually today a premiere, so I haven't used it. When you see this video, I probably have tested it already. I don't know if there is a separate review or if I put this in a shorts or something, not too sure. But I used that shade basically as a transition color, and then I either add some other mattes from this palette or I work with the more colorful ones in the Dragon palette, but I just need a bit of a transition going on. So with a smaller brush, I'm tapping here into this beautiful purple, and I start applying this in the crease. And since this is so pigmented, I kind of switch sides because this is really intensely pigmented. Did not add any additional product. I'm basically using whatever is left and then I blend it upwards into that transition area. Not gonna lie, this purple is a bit patchy. So I'm heading back into the MN7 shade from Mario and use this to blend out this patchy edge. With a smaller brush, I'm going into this shade. This is an aubergine shade, eggplant shade. And it reminds me a lot of that eggplant shade from Pat McGrath in tone. And I do apply this here on the outer part. I think it's in Mothership 5 that what I'm talking about. And I do apply this here just on the outer part for depth and drag it also inwards. We do not care for the very patchy lid area because I do apply a glitter glue and then most of it will be actually covered by a shimmer. Or, well, all of it will be covered by a shimmer. I am envisioning a like gradient on my lid from, I don't know, maybe something like pinkish to a dark purpley blue on the outer parts. So I'm starting actually with this dark purpley blue here. And I do tap this on the outer part of my lid. This has a blue base, but it has blue and purple like holographic specks in it. I am totally here for it. Next up, I'm going into this pink here and I apply this on the lid, but I'm leaving out the most inner part of my lid. And then I tap this also, of course, here over the edge. And now I'm tapping into this hot pink over here. And this goes to the inner part. So for the waterline, I'm going in with the ColourPop BFF Cream Gel Liner in the shade Plum Smash. I'm still working my way through the whole set that I ordered for Black Friday. So what does that tell you? And I do line my complete waterline with that. And if something is touching the skin outside, like here, if you can see this, doesn't matter because I'm going to blend that out. So I'm now going straight into that dark shade here again. And I do very, very close to the lash line, apply this all the way along. I want to have a really smoked out lower lash line for this look. I'm now also tapping into that purple shade here again, but I'm tapping like a ton off. And I use this underneath to smoke it out in purple. For my inner corner highlight, I'm going into this shade here. This is a super wet looking translucent shimmer. And I do apply this on the inner corners. And I also drag it as per usual a bit in the crease and on the lower lash line. Nothing new here. Since this eye look is so loud for brow and highlight, I'm tapping into this shade. This is a white matte with a few golden specks to them. So it's more matte than shimmery, but I hope that this gives a nice subtle effect. And it does. And here you have the finished look number 1. For lips, I went with the MAC Oak lip liner and the Dior Forever Rouge, no, Rouge Forever, Rouge Dior Forever, whatever, the matte lipstick in the shade 215. But now let's head over to look number 2. Okay, the second look, I'm starting off also with the Makeup by Mario palette, but this time in this one, which is MN9. And I do apply this as transition shade. I'm now tapping into MN2 with the same brush. And I do go over that a bit because I feel like I went a tiny bit overboard. I'm honest with you, I am missing a green matte in here because there are so many beautiful green shimmers. I think a green matte would have been such a bomb addition. So I see what I can do with the mattes. I'm starting with the shimmers now. So we're doing it a bit different today, and I'm tapping into this beautiful emerald shimmer green. And I do apply this on the outer parts, like that. This is a bit of a different texture, I have to admit. It's not as creamy as the others, it's more dry. But I'm also applying this here on the inner parts because I want to do a shimmer halo eye today. And in the center, I want to apply this very, very intense green. I was thinking about this or this green, but this has a lot of blue in it, but I want to stay in a really like true green, and this looks like a beautiful grassy green, kind of like a cocktail green. The palette fell down and it's upside down. Oh my god. I hate this day. Oh no. I don't want to pick it up honestly because look at it. But I have to. Ooh. Oh, thank God. Okay. So I basically now took a spatula and put it back in the pan from the floor. I do have a bit of like 99% alcohol here, and I will just now very, very, very careful drop it in here, mix it through, and then press it back together so that this has a better hold. And now back to the hopefully good tutorial. So after this short shock moment, let me just show you. I picked it back up with a spatula as I showed you in the short clip and pressed it now back together with alcohol, and now I'll let that dry. So should be safe. I'm not going to waste a single pigment out of this palette, but where was I? I wanted to apply my halo shade in the center that is still here on the brush. So let me do this. Ooh, so pretty. There is a subtle difference between the two greens, but it's not too intense. It's maybe a bit too subtle for me. It's a very, very tiny difference. My hands are full of glitter. My floor is full of glitter. It's ridiculous. I'm adventurous today. So to amp it up, I'm using this marbled shade. This shade, by the way, is texture-wise, in my opinion, the worst in this whole palette. Let me show you this. I will zoom you in so that you can see this. Look at what I can do with my brush here. This has so much loose air or like too much binding component in it that it's, first of all, impossible to pick shades up, and it's moving so hard. So it is impossible to pick something out of this pan here. The shade is like a very, very bad formulated Super Shock shadow. But what is on the brush, I now try to lightly dust here in the center. I don't want to have so much of color, I just want to have some like extra specks here. With a close-up it will not look as I like it, but it's fine. I'm now tapping into this dark brown here, and I go with this brown just through the crease. I want to have a little bit more depth going on, and I also want to distribute some of the shimmers a bit in the crease. I don't mind them being in the crease. I feel like with this look, this has a really cool effect. I'm adding on the waterline the ColourPop cream liner in Aglow. A-G-L-O-W, Aglow. Aglow? Aglow, whatever. But I do line my waterline with that. I'm now going back into that dark brown that I used in the crease. And I do carefully apply this on the lower lash line. And connect it, of course. But I'm not taking this all the way in. And to just use some more mattes from this palette, I'm tapping into this light blue. And I start applying this here on the inside and then blending it over the dark. I actually don't want to have the blue so much like visible as a single blue. More so to give it a colorful tint. For my inner corner highlight, I want to kind of pick up the different colors that I added in the center, so I'm trying to use the marble shade. So I did pick up some of the pigments, and now I'm just adding it here and bringing it in the usual areas. Applied like this, I actually like this, but I think for brow bone highlight, I will do something else. And I will stay with this shade. I thought of this shade. This has like confetti hollows in it, but I will be using this one that looks just wet. And here you have the finished look. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of this look, mainly because this dark matte that I used, this is such a bitch. If you know what I'm talking about when I say to you old Pat McGrath mattes, like I'm talking Mothership 1 to 9, actually, the mattes, especially the dark ones, are super patchy and hard to blend, and this is exactly what this one does. So I do have some missing spots now over here. I overblended, it didn't blend very well, but the green, the effect, the stuff, that one I really like. And for lips, I used the Charlotte Tilbury Super Size Me lip liner together with the Hourglass Phantom Glossy Balm in the shade Haze. But now let's head over to the last look. Okay, look number 3 is probably going to be the loudest. I wanted to find kind of an inspirational photo, but it's pretty hard to find a look with this palette because all of them are, even for me, even up there. So I came up with something on my own that does include a lot of colors that I haven't used yet. So I'm actually starting with this orange here, but on quite a pointy, tiny brush. And I do start here in this most inner crease part. And I blend this very, very lightly and softly just on that inner part, and I stop at the center. For easiness reasons, I actually take the same brush, I just wiped it off dry on a towel, and then I go into this beautiful red. That one, by the way, I used already for the very first look. And I do apply this in the crease too, starting in the center, again, very, very light hand. And I bring this on top of that orange so that I get a gradient, and then towards this outer part, but not all the way down. Now I'm taking a new brush and I tap into that more neutral brown here. Remember, the other brown had a lilac-y like eggplant undertone. This is a true neutral. And this I start applying here on the outer lash line, and I flick this out, and then I connect it with the red. This is one of the more patchy mattes in here, so I do build that up quite a bit. And I might need something to blend out the edges, but I will decide that in another step. I'm tapping into MN3 from the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes Neutrals. And I use this on the most outer parts for a better blend. You can totally use a translucent powder or in general just your face powder for this step. But to me, this line is just way too harsh. So adding a kind of blending shade like that helps with the complete blend. It just looks a tiny bit softer, but I also realized that the shape here is not perfect. I'm now tapping into this, like, I don't know, bronzy? Is it bronze? No, not really bronze. It has some purple hues, but also some bronzy hues in it. It's a, I don't know, purple bronze? Makes it sense? I don't know. But I start applying this on the inner part of the lid. Very, very gently. And I take this up to the center. Now it's getting really adventurous. I'm now tapping into this beautiful blue, turquoise, dark turquoise maybe. I start tapping this here on, covering that dark part. And I'm basically filling in the rest of the lid. And I tap back into that first shimmer shade. And I start tapping this here on top of where the blue begins to create a better gradient. I now take the same brush that I had the darkest shade on, and with no additional powder or pigment, I now run the complete brush through the crease. That way I'm adding a bit more definition and I'm kind of distributing the shimmer. I don't know what it is, I am a big fan of this messy, blown out shimmer in the crease. For the low lash line, I'm starting with the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk liner. With a super short smudger brush, I tap into that dark brown again. And I very, very tightly smudge that along to mix it with the liner shade. I wipe dry the brush again on a towel, and now this palette is such a pain to hold. I'm also tapping into the red, and I use this on top and smudge it slightly downwards. It's not so much about the color, it's about the tint. For inner corner highlight, I'm going to contrast here even more, and I go into this super light blue. It's kind of an ice blue. And I do apply this here on the inner part, and very, very roughly connected with the lid. Not too much. Depending on how much blue you want to have with this, you might have to build it up because the base is basically translucent. And I will use the same shade as Brow Bone Highlight today. And here we have the finished third look. On the lips, I'm wearing the Charlotte Tilbury lip cheat in Iconic Nude. And on top, the new faux filler gloss from Huda in the shade Cocoa. And so far, I'm not a fan. Have you ever seen a gloss that does go into fine lines on your lips? Like, I can see my lip rills, my texture. I'm honest with you, I liked all three looks. Everything that I have created so far with this palette, I really enjoyed because it is a beautiful palette. This is a very pricey one. This costs, if you don't have a discount code or something like that, on C Beauty Mall, I think €205. When you are clever and you want to order it from C Beauty Mall, just a little pro tip, put it in your cart, fill in all the information for a checkout, but then don't check out. That way they do have your email address and they will email you like every other day, oh, your card is expiring. Here, get a coupon code. And the highest one that I got after 4 or 5 days was a 25% off coupon. So that made that palette around 150 euro, which still is a lot, but it's kind of more snackable, like, you know what I mean. I'm just missing the right word. It does have its, let's say, problems. For example, the mattes, the dark ones, are extremely patchy and they need some really, really good, intense blending work. The other mattes in here are nothing like that. So I don't know if they just fucked up this dark shade, but these are just the 2 shades in the mattes that I really do not like. Shimmer wise, I just hate this marble one because it is so squishy and soft. It just feels like a fabric in here and it's super hard to get pigment on your brush. Maybe with a finger that's different, but you know me, I do not apply makeup with a finger. Overall, this palette just screams extrovert. This palette is not made for people who love to wear quiet looks, who love to wear soft romance looks. This is for people who love to go full on out with their makeup, who want to have the most sparkle, the most intensities, who just want to express colorful life, glitter, makeup, and just...
I just realized the gloss makes the strings. I feel like this gloss kind of slips down the lips because it's so heavy. It, like, you know, gravity pulls it down. Let me just take that off.
I reapplied the iconic nude lip liner, but this time I went in with the shade Bounce from the Colourpop Twilight collection. Feels much better, much lighter. This gloss, big fail. No thank you. Where was I? Okay, the palette. I'm sorry. I don't even want to say that this could be a companion palette for somebody who prefers more neutral looks, because I think for a companion palette, this is a waste of space. This you should only buy if you are really into these types of looks. Just look at the looks that you see on C Beauty Mall and on the Instagram page, how they do this. This is, even for me, as I said, a bit too much. I feel very confident with this palette. I feel very, very good. And if you are somewhat in my makeup life, if you are sharing my makeup taste, my taste of intensities and color and shimmers, metallics, glitters, chromes, whatever, then this palette is a win for you. If not, I do not think you should buy this, and I do not think that you should justify this only for the packaging and beauty of the colors to have it as a companion palette. If you want to have something more colorful and shimmery and whatever as companion palette, I advise you to go more for singles. For example, Cleonade. Choose 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 of Cleonade shades. Maybe if you just if you love the whole theme, just choose something that is somewhat similar to this. But I think investing that much money in this big eyeshadow palette will not be worth for people who, as I said, just are more into neutrals. And I said it in the first video that I filmed with, this packaging is just cheap. This is cheap cardboard glued with a piece of paper, and here on that silver dragon is already the color coming off, and I can see the black underneath. So they definitely saved some money on the packaging. So I think even though 32 pence is quite a lot, you get 45 grams of makeup, but for the overall experience, let's be real, I think this is also a bit overpriced. I personally, besides the thing that I just mentioned with the 2 dark mattes and that 1 shimmer, am a big fan of this quality. This is just different to other indie brands that I own. This is different to Flower Nose. This is different to the Shall We stuff that I tried. And I actually like this stuff so much that I picked up 4 more palettes from the brand. Not all of them are in this format, but they do have 16 and 24 pan palettes that are a bit different. They have a bit of the style of the Too Faced, not the Born, was it the Born This Way, where you have like longer and shorter pants in the packaging. It's kind of that format, and I'm really excited, but they are not here yet. Even when you see the video, I think I haven't gotten them because it takes quite a bit to ship them from China, because I ordered them on lookhealthy.com and on Sea Beauty Mall again. But again, this also took like 3 weeks to arrive here. So what do you think? What was your favorite look? Is this a palette that you can imagine in your collection? If so, are you planning to pick this up? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope I can see you in the next one.